Charles Gasperino is back off the rocker. He writes an article that says AMC stock pushers are another example of social media scariness. It's easy to write this, as AMC stock has fallen a lot based on what AMC's management has done. Let's just see how far off of the rocker he actually is. So he goes on to say that he survived prostate cancer, he survived being mobbed on Twitter, he survived COVID in December of 2021. Congratulations. But AMC shares are down 95% since December of 2021. The stock imploded, as I reported it would. AMC was burning loads of cash, heading for bankruptcy or massive dilution to raise much needed capital, neither good for shareholders. AMC turned a profit last quarter, no longer heading for bankruptcy, and massive dilution was AMC's own willingness. That had nothing to do with any due diligence that anyone had done or not. You really can't forecast AMC's management doing what they have done. And I don't even think the management themselves thought that the stock would fall this much. I firmly believe if you had Adam Aron in a closed room and whatever you guys said wouldn't get out to anyone, and you asked him, do you think AMC would have fallen 80% after the reverse split? He probably would have said no. He probably would have said something quite the opposite, like stable or even higher after the reverse split. Now, he says about 10 days ago, the stock's crash and burn was complete as the company took concrete steps towards the issuance of a ton of new shares, aka diluting existing shareholders, and stay out of bankruptcy. Again, AMC was profitable last quarter. Were it not for a bit of financial alchemy in a 10-for-1 reverse stock split, AMC's price would be reading just above $1. He says, how cults are created is an age-old question. The result is deadly and near-deadly stuff like Jonestown and Pizzagate, and the financially deadly stuff that surrounded the stock of AMC. The weird notion that a cabal of greedy hedge funds hell-bent on destroying the nation's largest movie theater chain were shorting the stock in dark corners of Wall Street does seem appalling. The average people could buy this stock and destroy a bunch of nasty hedge funds while becoming rich, even more so. This guy is so far off his rocker, it's crazy. Just one problem. Nothing close to what the cult was blathering about was true. The evidence of this scheme thrown around Twitter or the Reddit message boards was of the wackadoo variety. And if you dared question the illogic, as I did, be prepared for harassment like you've never seen before. The power of social media is intense and crazy. Of course, it made this cult particularly nasty and resilient over the past 2+ years. That is until the hammer finally just fell days ago and the AMC cult ended like they all do, in disaster. Ended? He thinks the cult ended? He's got another thing coming. AMC stock is just getting started, buddy. Short interest is probably 50% or higher at this point. Now let's take a look at the data and the raw truth behind all of this. Today, AMC stock has an estimated short interest of 8.71%. This is not true. Not true. The last reported official short interest we got was 29.25%. This was on August 15th when AMC stock was around $33 to $32 per share. So you're sitting here and telling me the short interest is 9% after the stock has dropped over 60%? Yeah, bullshit. Not going to accept that. And I know Charles Gasperino is not going to point this out. If anything, he's going to point out the short interest is low or estimated to be low. No, it's not. It's very high. It's 40+%, as high as 90%. Now, some of the other data is interesting as well. So utilization sitting at 75.19%, days to cover at 2.07, shares out on loan 13.91 million, estimated short interest off free float $9.74 million and $180 million worth of short positions currently on AMC stock. None of this data is correct. Like, none of it. So you got to take it with a big grain of salt. The one thing that might be correct, it's possible, are the cost to borrow fees. Now, if people are under the assumption that the short interest is really 8 to 9%, then I could see it logical how the cost to borrow fees did fall from 900% to 13%. Why? Because if you have a 29% short interest, the odds of a short squeeze are obviously a lot higher. So that means, wouldn't it make sense to have higher cost to borrow fees? Or really high cost to borrow fees? Well, yeah, probably. If the short interest is 8 or 9%, and that's what the estimate is from Ortex, then it might make sense to have 13% cost to borrow fees. Again, when the real exchange reported short interest number comes out, well, you're going to see a brand new set of data. And then I think the cost to borrow fees will be very reflective of that. Now, as I said in yesterday's video as well, and actually before we get into this next point, the option activity recently has been pretty dang bullish. So go ahead and keep that in mind. If you take a look at what we seen on Friday, you did see AMC stock close above $13 per share. That means about 9,500 puts expired out the money at the $13 call, or $13 put. And at the $13 call, you had about 11,000 calls that did expire in the money. So that really end of the day push above $13 per share is a very big deal for especially the start of trading on Tuesday. A lot of these options don't actually get settled out until 2 days later, T+2, right? So that means Tuesday. So a lot of hedging is probably going to have to take place almost instantaneously coming tomorrow morning. Take notice, markets are not trading today. It is Labor Day. Happy Labor Day for all of you guys. Let me know what you're doing down below in the comment section. So I think in terms of the option activity we seen on Friday, that could have a positive effect to AMC coming on Tuesday, but also the FTD numbers. So FTDs, the T+35 settlement time, or the closeout date, really, it doesn't care if it's Labor Day or Christmas or any other day. Well, you had 7.7 million FTDs that came due today per the T+35 settlement time. Tomorrow, you're going to have 7 million FTDs that come due. So both of these numbers essentially are coming due tomorrow morning. That's going to see an FTD spike up to about 14.1 million. This could also give you a decent amount of buying pressure coming tomorrow morning. And there's a lot of other factors that could also have a role to play, like how the markets are, how bond yields are, the economic data we're going to be getting in this upcoming week. All of those things could obviously affect AMC stock, and they're all things to, keep in mind. But when I boil this down, Charles Gasperino is off his rocker. Now you want to be bearish and come out with a cult piece on AMC stock? He's not going to be saying that when the stock is making that upside move. And eventually that is what is going to happen. I do think you need to get AMC actually confirming that they have diluted shareholders before you do get that bigger upside move. The markets right now are fearful. They're like, hey, AMC could dilute the shareholders by 10x, dilute shares by 1,000%. Or you might not see dilution for a while. Or you might see somewhat in between, or on the low end, or on the high end. We just don't know. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Markets can handle bad news, but they cannot handle uncertainty. And what you're seeing right now is just a lot of uncertainty. So if AMC does come out and say, hey, we've raised a small amount of capital, we don't plan on raising capital for a while, the stock has fallen so much recently that would be very good news, which is very counter kind of investing logic. You would expect if a company raised capital, the stock would sell off on that news. No, quite the opposite. The stock probably bounces off that move. Now, another point I want to make that Charles Gasperino really doesn't make at all or even talk about, due to this reverse split, The float is a lot smaller. Obviously, if AMC dilutes shareholders, though, that float's going to increase. But as of right now, and it would take a lot of dilution to actually change what I'm about to say, the stock can move a lot more. So even on some of those option trades, you could make a lot more money now than potentially you could have before. Say with one call, right? If AMC went from $4 to $8, you could make $400 on one call. Well, if AMC went from $40 to $80, the same, percentage gain, well, one call could make you $4,000. So some of your actually calls here look pretty attractive to me. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. In the next video, we will go over exactly what I think is going to happen with AMC stock this week and everything that you should know in that regard. So stay tuned to the channel for that video. Hopefully you guys like this one. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.